we want to discuss how do a generational curse affects you. We want to come up with a solution and trying to break the generational curse. So today, that's what we will be discussing, how to break a generational curse. Today, of course, with me, my boy Dion, and we coming at you guys. Dion, today, getting back to generational curses, we want to figure out how it has affected our lives. You know, I'm gonna kind of start out first. My life, I believe, and this is what I have saw when it comes to generational curses. I grew up in a community where, you want to kind of say it was a rural community. I won't say that everybody was in poverty, because that can kind of go in different minds, how people feel. But it was a rural community, rural area, a lot of gang violence, and I'm still in I still reside in the same city, but it just amazes me that was going on when I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and now here I am in my early 40s, and generations that didn't exist still being affected in that same area where I live. If you go in that same area to this day, things like that are still going on. And none of these kids existed when I was a kid at that time. So I kind of feel that a lot of choices and a lot of decisions that were made from a lot of individuals that I grew up with in that area and other people in that area, it's like that area has been cursed, and it still affects children that are born into that area right to this day.
Right.
And that's just one example of how I feel a generational curse has affected me from what I, see my own self.
Right. Well, for me growing up, and we lived in various communities throughout towns I was in,
Mm-hmm.
and like I say, it becomes a norm.
Right.
If I'm living in this community and they have gangs,
Mm-hmm.
that's fighting with other rival communities, other gangs.
Mm-hmm.
I move into another neighborhood, and they have gangs also. Or if I'm going to this school that has gangs, that school that have gangs. So it's like no matter where you at, even moving out of town to different cities,
Mm-hmm.
in our black communities, we have these gangs.
Right.
So it was really normal to belong to some type of gang.
Mm-hmm.
Because growing up, like you say, 40 years ago, you you see the same type of activity going on. So when you have, children growing up under these type of conditions, it's become normal. So of course, what do they want to do? They want to join the gang.
Yeah.
They have to belong to something,
Mm-hmm.
and so this type of activity goes on for years and years and years. If I remember my uncles, wearing certain colors,
Mm-hmm.
toting guns, throwing up certain gang signs, then that's the thing to do.
That's the thing to do.
So when I become of age and I'm able to get my hand on the gun,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm strapped too. My children watching me.
That's right.
So generation to generation, no matter where you're at, what city, what neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
this becomes our norm.
Right. And that's amazing, that a generational curse can affect so many different generations.
Right.
I mean, we see even to this day, the shootings, rival gangs,
Right.
that live on one side of town, live on another side of town. And it's not just in the community, the city that we live in.
Right.
This is all over the world. Everybody is experiencing these kind of issues. And if you start researching, even in the major cities, if you start researching, you can see that a lot of these decisions that a lot of these young children are making when it comes to the gang violence, and that's the one that we're speaking about as far as generational curses, it has been going on years and years before these children existed that's doing these things now.
Right.
You know, and that just it just really amazes me. I mean, that a generation of curse can affect, you know, those many generations.
Right.
You know, is it you know, is there any way that you feel, you know, in recognizing it now, that we can probably do to try to break this curse?
Okay, I'll give you this example. I remember I wanted to join the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Milwaukee at the time. I had cousins in Chicago.
Okay.
Older cousins. I was 11, 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go up to Chicago, and you know, my older cousins, they, you know, all his friends, or we all go to a park.
Right.
I wanted to join the game.
Right.
And man, my cousin, you know, was jack me up. You know, man, you don't want to be in no gang. You don't want to be out here like this. You know, blah blah blah. And he got on to me.
Right.
Didn't want me to join the gang, and I applaud him for that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, this the activity that I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he did not want me to join the gang, it was attractive to me.
Right.
I still wanted to join. Even though I had the older guys, the OGs, the old heads, the chiefs, the elites, telling me, no, this ain't for you.
Right.
Keep that basketball in your hand, you know, stay on the court, you know, blah, blah. I'm talking about, man, it was guys, you know, during those times, the drug dealers was, you know, was buying the basketball player tennis shoes.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? They wasn't giving them drugs. They wasn't giving them dope.
Right.
You know, they didn't want you out there on the corner. They was doing it. But we still fell under that curse. Because this is what we seen. This is what looked attractive to us. You know, Michael Jordan, he wasn't in our neighborhood.
That's right.
We all wanted to be like Mike.
Exactly.
But, you know, we weren't at the park playing with Mike.
Exactly.
You know, Michael Jordan wasn't pulling up, you know, in Porsches and Lamborghinis and drop top off what he done got from basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So even though, you know, basketball players make a lot of money, you know, this ain't what we seen.
Right.
So, you know, we still fell under the curse because this is our environment. These were our examples.
Wow.
Drug dealers and gang members.
Wow. Wow. I mean, a powerful curse, you know, and this is just one curse in particular that we're discussing right now, and how it has affected several communities all over the world. You know, it's a very strong, it has a huge stronghold on rural communities, and especially our children. And it's so broad that we can discuss this generational curse. I mean, and it's a question that I want to ask Dion. This generational curse that we're discussing about gang violence, this day of time, you see it in a lot of the hip hop music, the rap music. So, do you feel like the rap music also has a huge role as far as adding to that curse or keeping that curse alive from generation to generation? The gang rap music?
I believe rap music today probably have one of the greatest influence of all times during this era right here, this generation that we're living in now. Okay. Because everything, even your fashion designers, your the automobile industry, I mean, everybody use hip hop. You know what I'm saying? To you know, to gain to keep their finances up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if Lil Wayne is involved, you know what I'm saying? Whatever he got going on, whatever he like, whatever he drive, you know, we want that. However he live, you know, we want that. But at the same time, he also have a message. These rappers have messages, which have a negative influence. You know what I'm saying? So not only do we want to wear what they wear, drive what they drive, but we also imitate their actions.
Right.
So music, you know, like,
it kind of adds to that curse. It kind of keeps that curse, that fire lit in that curse. You know, music is a part. It's a part of it, and that's what we're constantly discussing: how we are affected by a generational curse, and it has really affected our young community today. And I'm not just going to focus on the young; even our older community, it has affected. You know, we all. The reason we're having this discussion is to recognize it, so that we can do better. And we're going to continue to focus on recognizing generational curses And with that being said, we're gonna get ready and close. Definitely subscribe.